Hello and good evening. My name is Mike. It is September 20, 2021. I just wanted to share my COVID experience, my COVID story. Last March, in the state I live in, we shut down on the 23rd of March of 2020. So my family, my wife at the time was not working, and our daughter. So there's just three of us. But anyway, so we were locked down. We did everything we were recommended to do. Stay at home, wear masks, wash hands, don't touch your face, physical distance, or don't go, big gatherings and so forth. We did all that. We cleaned our groceries off when we brought them home. We basically really didn't go anywhere. No entertaining. Nobody came to the house. It was just the three of us. My wife went back to work in August of last year, of 2020. I did not go back to work until middle October. I was unemployed for 7 months, following the protocols that everybody recommended that we do. Okay, it wasn't ideal, although I will say we actually did enjoy the time. I don't know that we were detrimentally affected by it, but we actually drew closer, I felt, during that lockdown time. I'm not recommending it. I'm not saying it's the best way to go. I'm just saying for us, it worked. We did well with it. We played a lot of Wii sports, and a lot of card games. We did a lot of crossword puzzling. So then I go back to work, and I am contracted to a government agency. That's all I'll say about that. But when I did go back to work, the building I work in, I'm contracted. I'm not an employee of the particular organization. But for the most part, for the first 4, 5, 6 months, outside of security people at the building, a maintenance person, a couple IT people, there was only 2 workers in the building, myself and one other guy, in a building that houses 300 people. So, was asked to wear a mask and so forth. So, I did that, although it seemed silly to me because I rarely saw anybody. A coworker of mine did come back to work sometime earlier this year, 2021. I don't know, January, February. Only 2 days a week, however. So still, the other 3 days a week, there's more people in the building now. But for the most part, on any given day, there's 10, maybe 12 people in the whole building. So then, when the vaccine push, the warp speed program and all that, which I was a Trump supporter, although I did not agree with the warp speed work to get these vaccines out so quickly. I'm not anti-vaxxer. I just recently got my second single shot. I have had flu shots before, so it's not that at all. But I disagreed with how quickly it was thrown out there to everybody. Sometime earlier this year, I did start hearing about other treatments, other potentially, at least at the time, effective treatments. I won't mention the specific name of the one that I most ended up pursuing because I don't want to get this to be canceled, or blocked. But I did a lot of research, did a lot of study, all over the place, in listening to doctors on YouTube primarily, reading articles, going to websites, hearing all the perspectives on the COVID treatments, whether preventative, prophylaxis, although initially, at least I should say for a long time, there were no early COVID treatments after you tested positive or had symptoms or were diagnosed with it. There were no early treatments really talked about. Basically, just take care of yourself until until your lips turn blue or you can't breathe or something, then go to the hospital. But for me, this protocol that I'm on, and it's you can find it online. It's called the Imask Plus protocol on a website called it's flccc.net. If you search for that, you'll get to their website. The website name has changed, but flccc.net, you can find it. So this protocol is for preventative and early treatment, and although it's not quite as effective for later COVID, when you get into the respiratory, more serious condition, although it has shown to be helpful a little bit, but it also is helpful for long haulers because it does reduce the viral load. I am a caveat. I am not a doctor. I'm not in the medical field at all. I am just stating what I've experienced with COVID this past 18, 19 months. So in late April, I pursued going on this Imask protocol, which the prescription medication in question that I'm using, that will go unnamed, that's one part of it, but there's also a number of other supplements and treatments that are important for this protocol. Extra vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, melatonin, quercetin, also gargling with mouthwash that has a particular type of, not iodine, I forget, it's a long name, I forget the name, I didn't prepare for this, but and also then nasal sprays that have again a specific iodine, a specific type of iodine that is also helpful. So these are just part of the Imask protocol. Also, the protocol also calls for masking when necessary, avoiding large groups, physical distancing when necessary inside in enclosed spaces. So, and I wanted to talk about this because in the next 3 weeks or a month, I face possibly being mandated to get the vaccine, which I prefer not to do. Only in that, number one, first and foremost, I have a religious objection. These available vaccines out there have been either tested on or derived from the fetal cells from aborted human babies. That's my first objection. Secondly, this protocol I have been on since late April. I have since June, because Michigan, my state, Michigan, lifted the lockdown and so forth protocol back in June 22nd. From that time, or actually a little bit before that, because that was just when the lockdowns was lifted. But before that, in June, I was going out in public without a mask, not physical distancing. I grocery shopping, going to church, restaurants. I went to graduation parties, wedding receptions. I even went to work unmasked for almost a month before I was ordered to start wearing it again in the building. I have not gotten sick. My wife and daughter have not gotten sick from me. I went to 2 weeks ago. I went to a football game, a very, very large football game, unmasked during the whole pack. Gotten sick. My wife and daughter have not gotten sick from me. Nobody at work has gotten sick from me. We have regular morning meetings with our whole group, and so this protocol that I'm on is working. It works. May not work for everybody. It has worked for me. Again, I'm not proposing or suggesting any medical advice. I'm just saying, do the research. Look at the research. Look at the science. They say follow the science. Well, that's what I've been trying to do to the best of my non-medical, non-science, biological, experience, and just relying on the expertise of others out there in the cyber world. I also, I also have doubts about, because it's still uncertain about the long-term effects of the vaccine. I am not questioning its effectiveness. It's clearly effective. There's no question about that. It's clearly effective. Although the antibodies, the effectiveness of the vaccines has been proven now to wane over time. Over 4, 5, 6 months, the effectiveness, the antibodies wane. My understanding about the vaccines is, with as far as antibodies go, is that it boosts the blood antibodies, IgG, IgM, but it does not boost antibodies that are in our nasal passages, in our mouth and our nose, which are IgA antibodies. Now, there's been some talk, I've seen some talk about a nasal vaccine coming out that you would spray in your nose. I would do that. If there were vaccines out there that are not tested on, or not derived from, fetal cells of aborted babies, I would consider that, certainly consider that. There was a different type of vaccine called Novavax that may not get approved here in the United States. I would consider that as well. There was another vaccine I read about, AAV, I think is the organization is pursuing that. That sounds like something I would consider, because it's a different type of vaccine than what's currently out there. Now, I'm Catholic, so obviously the religious objection is from the teaching of the Catholic Church. Now, the Catholic Church is not against vaccines. The Catholic Church, however, still does say, from the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, that vaccines are nevertheless still voluntary. They do also go on to say, in their teachings on using vaccines or any kind of medication that's derived from or tested on aborted fetal cells, that if there are no viable alternative or effective, safe alternative vaccines or treatments, then in a serious matter, it would be effective. It would be allowed or illicit to take a vaccine that was derived from or tested on aborted fetal cells. However, I don't believe this COVID falls into that category of being very serious, because there is a 98.4% survival rate for this virus. Of course, if one of my loved ones was someone who passed away from it or died from it, or I might have a different perspective on it. But I have 3 older siblings. I'm 61. I have 3 older siblings that got COVID, survived. I have 2 in-laws, older in-laws, also that had COVID, survived. My one brother-in-law did spend some time in the hospital, but he survived. So In my experience, my family, just looking at the numbers, it's a 98.4% survival rate. It's not like the bubonic plague or something. Now, when you look at, and these are numbers from the CDC, these are official numbers from the CDC when they did a study from March of 2020 to March of 2021 of 500 of some millions of hospital visits. Over 540,000 of them were COVID related. What they looked at was what were the comorbidities, what were the existing conditions that were most problematic when it came to people with COVID having bad outcomes, either serious, very serious illness or death. And the top three were obesity. Number two were stress or anxiety or fear-related conditions. And thirdly were problems with diabetes. In other words, you're not taking care of your diabetes properly. Those are the top three. Others were, heart disease, kidney disease, things like that. These are comorbidities that are the most problematic for people who get COVID. If you think about the first three, the top three, these are things that people can control themselves. There are means to control these top three: obesity, lose weight, be active, better diet, so forth. Secondly, the stress, there are stress, fear-related things. These are things that people can control with counseling, medication, so forth. Thirdly, diabetes. Complications from diabetes. Now, there are going to be some cases where even if people are managing their insulin, are managing their diabetes, there can be complications that there's nothing they could do about. But for the most part, if people are managing their diabetes, managing their insulin, and so forth, then the complications aren't going to arise and be a problem. So that's where I'm at as of mid September here in 2021. And I just wanted to share this with you. My own personal experience may not mean anything to anybody out there, but it had the protocol that I'm on has worked for me personally. I can't speak of any other personal experiences of other people that I know personally that has helped, but it has helped me. And so far, thank God, I'm healthy. I have not contracted COVID. I hope not to. I have done everything have been asked to do to avoid contracting this, except for the vaccine. So thank you for watching. If this is helpful for anybody, that's great. I just wish to share my story. So God bless. Bye now.